All right, dude. Let's bring the man in. Doing it live. I'm doing it live.
Hey!
Hey!
What's up, dude?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Just
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, good. Yeah, Doug, that joke never gets old. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Love that.
All right. So for the uninitiated, would you just introduce yourself and tell people who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So, hey everybody. So I'm Jonathan Stevens. I am the founder of Timebandits, which is a streetwear brand that produces watches and toys. And we've been around since 2004. Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's
Yeah, so
crazy.
we make watches, toys. We made some enamel pins, and yeah, so it's been fun.
Nice. So when did we first meet? I can't even remember. That's kind of the theme of this
We
weekend.
met. You know what? We actually met at DKECON at one of the. It was a DKECON a long time ago in in Pasadena, and I think it was David Arshowski's son that introduced me to you, Dove, and Fernando, and so that we met at that show at your booth, and I had some questions about distribution and toys, and you were always very helpful.
Nice.
You've been helpful to the entire community. Yeah, you were, because I tried to talk to a few other people and they weren't as receptive as you were. so it was always a good thing,
So I think the first thing that you made that we carried was we distributed your watches, correct?
Yeah, you sold some of the watches. I think, was it two or three of them? There was a few of them, yeah.
There's a bunch of different designs.
With Frankie the Time Bandit, yeah. So Frankie the Time Bandit was our original first 9-inch rotocast designer vinyl toy that we made, and that was in around 2009.
And what I loved about Frankie is that Frankie was actually wearing your watches. And the one thing that you had about your watches is that they would have like real, like, were they real like 80s wristbands on the watches?
Yeah, I have a couple to show you. So this is what the spinner watch, basically, and it's got bling all over it, and it spins, and then you can open it up, and there's the logo and the time and everything. Wow. And again, these, what we had a spinner watch on Frankie, and then a calculator watch. I'm wearing a calculator watch right now. But yeah,
can you show that one more time for all the boys and girls at home? Look at that, with the calculator
sideways
on the wristband, like.
Yeah, and if you guys see, so the logo, way before we created Frankie the Time Bandit, this is the logo. Time Bandit's logo. So it's kind of like and
that was based on sort of like an Al Capone style.
Yeah, similar to Al Capone, really more about the all-American gangster, capitalism, but true capitalism, not crony capitalism, and kind of going your own way, you know what I mean? So yeah, a little bit rebellious, but at the same time, all-American gangster. That's kind of the icon we wanted to create, and that's how we kind of designed and came up with the idea for Frankie as the first toy.
But is the all-American capitalist a real capitalist or the crony capitalist?
That's a good question, Dove. It's a good question. I really, since we even started the company, and since I can ever remember, it's been really more crony capitalism, right? It's been consolidated capitalism. We're not for that, obviously, but yeah, we're more for free markets and let the best products rise to the top and let people have choices instead of everything being run by the state. Yeah.
So how did you find, I mean, obviously, you're making your watches and your clothing, and you made a vinyl toy, but then somehow you got sucked into like the resin toy bootleg movement. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Also, Dev, I wanted to just give everybody a little bit about my background. So And Dove, so didn't you direct some films back in the day? Did you go to
Back in
film school?
back in the day, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so my background is I went to school at USC Film School. Now it was called USC School of Cinema Television back then, but now they've changed the name. So it's been that long since I've graduated. I'm aging myself. Um, but it was called, now it's called the University of Cinematic Arts. So when I finished film school, I landed a job on the X-Files, and I worked on that TV show for 4 years as a photographer and the main I assisted the main director on the show. His name's Kim Manners. He was the executive producer and main director, and I was really shadowing him on a director's track. I wanted to be a director, right? So shortly after the X-Files, I ended up realizing, I don't want to continue working in this industry as a career. So I pivoted, and I was doing some freelance work, and I got really tired of wearing these same kind of leather strap watches that everybody was wearing and at the time. And I started just putting together some sweatband watches for myself. And I started wearing them around on various sets, like commercials, music videos and stuff, even like just right after the X-Files. And people started commenting on them and saying, hey, where can I get one of those watches? Where can I? So I started making watches for other people.
Mhm.
And I really saw a trend developing. I said, hey, there's something to this. I need to do some more market research. And basically my market research at the time had been on my wrist, right? So I started making watches and selling them. And then I created my own company, Timebandits, and went full production with different factories for the watches. And then, like I said, we started with, when I was running Timebandits, and even before I met you, Dove, I was already collecting designer vinyl toys. And I had been collecting toys since I was a kid, just like pretty much everybody in this community. And I was also collecting designer vinyl toys, and I decided, it'd be great to create our own toy as a mascot for our company. And that's where we created Frankie the Time Bandit. And that gives you a little bit more context, but my background is really visual art, photography, and product design. But yeah, as far as how we got into the 3/3/4 scale, I was talking to Manny with Special Ed Toys, and Dove, you kind of know the journey there. We started first with that series of Darth Trump figures, Darth Trump and Empress Hillary. You might remember this guy right here. I'll pull him up. So we'll do a little show and tell. This guy.
Look at that.
I don't know if we say the word. I don't know if this video is going to get censored, Dove, or what, but it could be after our conversation. You might have to put it on BitChute or Rumble. I don't know if YouTube's going to allow it. You might have to bleep some words out. But yeah, so
which words are we bleeping?
I don't know. Can you say Trump? Can you say, well, some of the other words I have coming up for some of the play sets I've made? Some of those keywords are a little iffy on YouTube. Yeah.
You can't even say Trump on YouTube?
You got to be careful, I think. I think a lot of people have gotten strikes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Anyway. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
No, go on. I'm loving it.
So what I was going to say, Dove, is that we first started with Darth Trump, Empress Hillary, and I really liked the 3/3/4 inch scale. And of course, doing a factory run, Dove, doing a factory run, we did over 1,000 units of Frankie. It's costly, right?
Sure.
It can be expensive. And so I thought, okay, well, I still want to have a creative outlet. I still want to create, we work with a team of artists to make these toys under Timebandits. And it's, you can make a 3/3/4 inch resin figure on our timeline, it's usually 3 to 4 months or a little bit longer. I would say way, way less in cost, as you know.
Sure.
And so you have a quicker turnaround. You can sell out the unit, you can sell the units, and then, and I don't, whatever, a lot of, the money that comes in, usually I just put the money into the next project and just kind of pay it forward.
Sure.
But it takes a village of us to make the toys for Time Bandits. It's not, I mean, we have David Arshowski, who's been a sculptor that I've worked with over many years. And then we've
and let me interrupt you there. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
David Arshowski worked on the original Turtles line, is that correct?
Yeah, Teenage
and like the Toxic Crusaders, like, I mean, he's like,
yeah,
you know, as a sculptor, I mean, he worked for all the big companies. Like, you can look him up. He's a star.
I mean, he sculpted this. I was going to do some more show and tell with you guys, but I'll get into the description of this later. But I mean, this Illuminati overlord figure it's just insane. You know, I mean, there's a lot going on with this.
Noted.
But I'll come back to it. I mean, the skull. I mean, look at the detail on the skull. You know,
it's crazy.
But yeah, so got into this 3¾ inch scale, and I was we've kind of moved into you know, we did the Donald Trump show, we did a Bernie figure, and then we did we also did the Darth Trump, Empress Hillary. So we've done some collabs with Special Ed Toys. Love working with Special Ed Toys, and then most recently we did some collabs with Mir One, and the figure I just showed you guys, the Illuminati Overlord, that was with Mir One. We also did George Orwell 1984, Inky the Anunnaki. We did some of those. We did that with Mir One. And you want to do some show and tell now, Dub, or you want to wait till later?
Let's see it. Show it.
Okay, so let's
do it live. Do it live.
Show and do it live. So let's look at how about we'll do Inky the Anunnaki. This is it was a great figure to make. And what was interesting about the some of these figures that we put out for, most of these we do release for DesignerCon or Dub. We've even, in the past we did the some of the figures through you at DKE Toys. But what's interesting about what we like to do with these figures is I don't know why, but intuitively I just felt like, hey, you know what? I need to create some kind of environment, like some kind of aesthetic that features the figure at DesignerCon. So I decided, okay, I'm going to put together a play set for some of the more key figures that we want to show. Yeah, And so we put together the first play set I put together for DesignerCon was the Illuminati play set, and it did feature this guy, the Illuminati Overlord. And
that's the one
with this figure.
That's the one with Mir One.
Yeah. And this one has like an oil can to represent the control of energy production. He's got the fuel pump here, like for the gun. And there's a Gatling gun right here for, forced.
As one does, yeah, of course.
As one does, yeah, forced compliance to nation states who aren't on board with the elite class. And then you've got the all-seeing eye. At the top here, of course, most people know what that is. And then you have the surveillance state that's represented by this camera on the side, the surveillance camera. It's got the CBS logo with the little red dot in the middle.
Because the all-seeing eye is not enough. You have to have additional surveillance, of course.
Oh yeah, you got to have you got to really pump it up.
But CBS is not the television network. That's the reference to Mir One's graffiti crew, correct?
That is a reference to that too. Good call. And then there's some of the logos. So we actually created a TV screen here, and with each one of these figures came 3 different little printed out card screens. This one was the mainstream media, fake news card screen.
And this was like there. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we did like FNN. We did all of them: Fox News, Faux News, BS, like ICU for ABC, and then the CBS. And so
ICU.
We did ICU. So there's different plays on it, and then there's like for this little part, there's oil coming out, a little spigot right here. That was kind of funny. And then there's and then there's the like T-Rex type legs, and then the reptilian tail. So it's kind of like a reptilian overlord. And then you have this tech
But
overlay with the robot arms. Yeah.
but also it's sort of like fossil fuels, right? Like,
Yeah. Control of energy and potentially, I mean, asking questions, are we really using, or, the correct form of energy that, could there possibly be other forms of energy that are being kept from mainstream? So, just,
probably.
yeah, making toys to, and that kind of segues way into our intent really is that we started with some of these political figures.
Can we
And
just go?
then I'm
Can we
actually
just can we
yeah,
just go back to like the technical part of that figure, because that figure stands, correct?
it
I mean,
does. Yeah,
that
it
is,
does
I
stand
mean,
on its
just a
own.
technical feat of, and how tall is that? 8 inches?
Yeah, it's about yeah,
Seven,
8 to 9 inches.
8 to 9 inches. And so that is
Yeah,
fully made of that solid resin, and that thing is
solid resin,
balanced and stands. And
and
then,
it's got 4 arms.
and you
And
guys cast
yep,
that, and then who painted those?
Todd Anderson, Todd Action, and Todd. He shares the booth with Timebandits every year.
Mhm.
Todd's an incredible painter, and Todd does a lot of 1/6 scale custom figures, just amazing work. And I became friends with Todd at Frankenson, and he has a booth there. If you guys ever
Mhm.
go to Frankenson, check out his booth. He always has incredible stuff.
Yeah, it's great work.
And then we did the MK Ultra variant of that figure, and this was for Clutter Magazine. This is my only AP.
Wow, I don't have that one.
And this was multicolor psychedelic representing the MK Ultra kind of the LSD mind control project. Um, so there's the little CIA tab of LSD there represented. And then you've got, MK Ultra screen there. There's also with this figure, what was interesting, and I, with this interesting, it came with this figure. It came with a briefcase with all of the evidence and data of the declassified project, which is known as MK Ultra. So there was a lot of information that comes with this figure, and it's pretty cool. There was only one done; it was a one of one, and this is again my only AP that I have. So, but I do have it displayed in the gallery here with all the files for project for the MK Ultra project. So that was a fun figure to do. I'm thinking the other one we did with Mirror One is of course the George Orwell 1984 figure, and this was a lot of fun to do and very in line with
It's amazing.
kind of what what society is going through, and kind of little prophecy type action going on with some of these. But look, if somebody hasn't read the book, maybe it inspires somebody to read the book and learn more about it. And this is what I was going to say earlier, is that um, you know we started with the political figures, and I really wanted to move away from the political figures because, quite frankly, I stopped watching politics. I'm not even paying attention to it anymore. I do pay attention to economic news, but um, we wanted to pivot more to and make the intent for Timebandits is more of like a series of truth toys, where our intent is to hopefully get people to think more critically about some of these, about certain narratives that they have possibly been indoctrinated to believe, whether those narratives are true or not. It's to that's up to the viewer, right? And also just to get people asking questions. Here's another figure that I made, and this was fun, and it got a lot of cool, funny responses at DesignerCon. This is called chemtrails, and and then and this one is I play on the Hot Wheels, of course, logo. It is actually a Hot Wheels plane. We repainted it, and I added the DARPA sticker and the HARP sticker on there. If you don't know what HARP is, please look it up and just look into it. It might be an interesting subject for you. Oh, by the way, I wanted to always use cotton for something. I was like, oh, I got to use cotton for the chemtrail, and so I just glued cotton on the for the chemtrail, and then there is just like a description on the back and some of the logos there. So this was a fun piece. We only did 10 units of this, but when these are displayed in the designer at the booth, at the Time Bandits Hot Action booth, it's really seeing the people's reactions when they walk into the booth, when they see these figures and they see the play sets, especially the play sets. You know, at the end of the day, it's really not about the money. Making money's good and that's nice, but it's really fun. For me, I get creative fulfillment seeing people's reactions when they come in and see something that's could be a little controversial or just kind of crazy, you know.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things of doing shows, and I'm not really creatively involved in these projects, is when someone walks by and you can see the reaction on their face. Like they see something and, like, you know, you can just see the gears turning, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, and then they get it, and like you see the response on their face. And even there's even one step further than that. It's like they see it, they're like, what is this? And you just see the wheels turning and they're like, oh, haha, that's amazing. And then you just see like the wallet come out and it's like slow motion. They just like, I need to have that. And it's like, dude,
double win. Yeah.
It's really great. Is there more?
We also had the last designer con we did in person. Yeah, of course you were there. And I think you came by the booth. I mean, you saw it, but we had a Jeffrey Epstein place set, and that's one of the words that might get you that's one of the words that might get this video flagged on YouTube. But what's interesting, seeing people's reaction when they walked in, and guess what, Dove? I had to put it in the very back of the booth in the corner.
Yeah.
So if you want the real good, like dark stuff, you know, you got to come in and you got to go to the end of the booth. It's like, here, welcome to the truth booth. Come on in. And, you know, but it was funny. No, it was funny because we even had a jet plane, a model plane with the Lolita Express sticker on it on a runway. And we had the painting of Bill Clinton in a dress, and then we had that might get flagged too. And then we had what else do we have? We have a Hillary action figure, and this is a one-off, and she's doing this, and she's got two hitmen in front of her with machine guns, and we have Jeffrey Epstein in a sitting in a chair with the a book with the Mossad book and CIA, and there's one of the funniest books I put together is a little miniature book, and it said Blackmail for Dummies on it, and it was sitting on a table next to him. So that was kind of funny. But seeing people's reactions to that, and especially I remember specifically there was some parents that came in. There was one dad who saw it, and he had his kid with him, and he pushed his kid away to like go to another area. And he leaned in and started taking photos with his iPhone, and he was just tripping out.
Wow.
And you know, for them to come in and take photos of the play sets and lean in and start looking at it, that was just cool. You know, and then they ask questions about it. So
my favorite play set was the Stanley Kubrick fake moon landing set.
That was my favorite.
I mean, that was
favorite.
like, and if I'm assuming you don't have it right there with you. If you follow Time Bandits on Instagram, just go look at it. It's it's a fantastic play set. So much time and effort went into them.
Yeah, thanks, Dove. It's in boxes right now, and I do want to bring it out again. But that took months and months to get all the pieces and put everything together.
So that was a one of a kind.
One of a kind, and I knew that we were going to do the Stanley Kubrick piece, and this is one of the last figures we made. That was 2019 DKECON, right? So this is the Stanley Kubrick figure. He's a little loose. And you know, it's basically questioning the possibility: did he potentially direct the Apollo missions? And you know, and so and it's not saying that 100% that he did. It's just questioning, hey, you know, what if, you know? And then on the back, on the card, on the back side, I provided evidence and thoughts to consider, you know, and just talked about Operation Paperclip, and that might get you flagged. And then, let's see the call back there. No, but and then The Shining, there's Easter eggs in The Shining, all this stuff. I added all this stuff in there. But the whole thing about this figure was I wanted to create. I, you know, I had to create the play set, the film set on the moon with the lander and directors. And Doug, you've been on film sets before. I create. Here's what the funniest part of I think that play set was, is that there was a video village with all the playback screens, like you're on a set, like a film set. It has and it has NASA logos on some of the screens, and it has the actual photos of the guys on the moon on the screens. And then there's military people, there's NASA guys in suits. There's a Stanley Kubrick. It says Kubrick on the back of the director's chair. But the funniest part of the play set that I thought was the funniest part was there's a craft service table, and there is there's cookies and coffee and tea, like all these goodies on the craft service table, and there's an astronaut standing next to it with his helmet off, eating a chocolate chip cookie. And I just thought, man, that's hilarious. Like that makes the whole set for me personally. I just thought that was funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, maybe
is that
I'll break it out again for the next one. Yeah.
Is that a shining rug pattern on your pillow right there?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We got lots of colors. I mean, I'm really into like psychedelic color palettes and you know, and different patterns like this. But yeah.
Nice. One of my favorite things is when I was at your place is Jonathan has stuff virtually like in every room of the house, and with your focus mostly on loose toys. Like you open most everything.
I
right?
do. Yeah, I
Which
do. But I
is-
do collect a lot of carded figures, and I'm a solid, a consistent customer for DKE. Yeah. But yeah,
still,
but I do.
But you still do take like resin figures and like rip them open for the figures inside.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't keep all of them. I don't keep all of them in the plastic prisons, but I will tell you though, Doug, there are more carded figures hung up on the wall now since you've been been here. So you need to come back. You need to come pay a visit, and
I will check
we'll
it
go
out.
down the street and have lunch again.
He has art in virtually every room and figures everywhere. I think with the exception, he said like the bedroom was like off limits, right? It's like, this is my wife's domain.
Is the coolest wife ever. She says, hey, you know, it's fun for her. She has her toys too. But yeah, she allows when we moved into our new condo that we bought, we decided, okay, let's make this like more of an art gallery, you know, toy gallery type setup. And you're right. Yeah. There's just art and toys everywhere. And I like to rotate it too and keep it fresh. I think I had the same problem that you do, Dove, you know, with collecting. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all in that boat, right?
Uh-huh. Collecting is a disease, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The art behind me is a lot of the stuff that I've done too, like photography, some of the paintings, but I haven't painted in a long time. But now I'm more focused on product design. My day job is I own another company called Shoplinks. And that's Shoplinks with a Z. I'm the co-founder and CEO of it's a tech company, and it's a social commerce platform where you can basically customize your own e-commerce experience and shop with crypto as well. So that's what I do. And so that's more product design. That's more software tech. It's basically social media and e-commerce mashed up in one platform, so you can follow people, create your own lists and stuff like that.
Very cool. So do you find that, like, did you always know that you wanted to do something creative when you were a kid?
No, well, you know, I grew up as an only child, and then I ended up I do have a half brother and half sister, but I was raised as the only child in the house, so I had to be creative, and I always had I had some pretty cool toys, and then, but yeah, I just started collecting when I was a kid, and I kept some of my toys from, you know, when I was a kid, and I'm all over the place in terms of collecting, but as far as creativity, you know, I grew up in Arkansas, and when I'm going to be dating myself, but so when I moved to LA, in '94, and I was 22 at that time. So, I would say I became more creative after I moved to LA, but
Mhm,
I was always a creative thinker in Arkansas. It's just, it depends on your product of your surroundings, right? So there was a lot more culture and art and things to see and do in LA, as you know, Dove. I mean,
mhm.
there are things going on all the time, right? By the way, are you going to the LA art show this coming weekend?
I don't know. I have
Hmm.
mixed
Yeah,
feelings about
I've
that
been a couple
show.
times. I've
I've
been a couple
gone,
times. Yeah,
and it
but
just I'm left there feeling depressed and deflated, like the amount of like the corporate art and stuff. It's really, I don't know. It's not for
okay.
me. Every once in a while, I
Yeah.
mean, there's stuff that I already like that is sometimes there on display, but I think they've gotten rid of the section that had, all the lowbrow and pop surrealist painters. Like I think that section is gone. It
Really?
it was
Okay.
it had a name. It was called something Wonderland or whatever. It was really cool. I mean, they had these life-size statues, and Attaboy made this swing you could go on. Like it was really kind of crazy. But you really
Yeah.
have to wade through
The corporate stuff, you're right, to
a
get
lot
to the
of
good.
really, really bad art, and it just for the trouble, there's just so little in that room that speaks to me. And anything that is remotely, anything on the peripheral, uh, toy, graffiti, street, tattoo, whatever, those are all still considered like, stepchildren that are treated poorly. Like, I don't know, not,
Yeah.
I and then the people walking around that show, it just, no, man.
I've
uh,
all I yeah, I've only been to it twice, and yeah, I previously had not even gone, but there were a few installations, and there's some like pop surrealism. There's some art in certain galleries. It just depends on what gallery it is, but you do have to look for it. You're right.
yeah, I've I've gone maybe 3 or 4 times, and every 2 3 years maybe I go and see, hope see something new and exciting and that moves me. But back to you and creativity. So
Yep.
you felt like when you were growing up, um, in the South, that there was not. Did you come out here pursuing a career in film? Like, did you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in Arkansas, it was really more about sports, and typical what you would imagine more small town type of activity. But yeah, I moved to LA to work in the entertainment industry
Mhm,
and to finishing school. I started college in Arkansas, and then I finished out here.
mhm.
But
Was it
um,
a little bit of culture shock coming out here, or did you just jump right
I didn't
in?
know anyone. Yeah, I moved out here with some friends. I didn't know anyone. It was a little bit of a um, I'd already been to LA before, and had already visited California several times. So it wasn't a crazy culture shock, but yeah, completely different energy, right? There's a different pulse. I mean,
Mhm.
with the amount of people and traffic, and yeah, it was different. It's definitely an adjustment. I liked it. The look in the '90s, LA was um, there were a lot of good times in the '90s in LA for sure. It was good times. It's different now, you know.
We'll talk about that more privately later.
Yeah.
So, but you came out here, pursuing, you know, some a creative profession, and then at some point you decided that was not right for you, um, and then now you're involved in creating all of this other stuff. Like, was that a substitute? Like,
It,
creatively,
it
like,
yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, good question. I think that I really need a creative outlet is for my sanity. I think like a lot of other people in the community, right? And I pivoted, and I realized I looked at data, or I looked at you know real world like fundamentals too. Seeing how uh, old, what the age was of people working on these sets I was on, even like the X-Files. And I was thinking, if I do a film, if I direct a film, how many years is it going to take me to fundraise, write the script, fundraise, get people to like get the crew. You're depending on, 60 to 100 people to make your film, and it takes many years
Sure.
to have a final product, right? And then you're depending on distribution after that. So you have to do all the festivals and all of that. So for me, I thought, okay, I still want to be creative. Actually, photography was my first creative outlet. I actually pivoted from um, that was literally my first creative outlet, was doing photography. And I did photography on the X-Files set. And then I I realized I can go out. At the time, I was shooting real film, and I could go out and shoot a couple rolls of film and get. You remember back in the day, Doug, you would get your pictures back, and it was like opening a gift, and you get this creative fulfillment from that
Sure.
process, like what you captured. And it was quicker. It was like this. Maybe it was a quicker dopamine hit, Doug. Probably that's probably the best way to say it.
Right.
But it definitely, even so now, even pivoting to making, even for the watches, we design these watches, we get them produced. I've even pivoted from making a lot of these like newer watches or whatever, even just more toys under the Time Bandits brand, because I can do it. We can do it faster as a team.
Hmm.
We can create more product just more quickly, and I think there's more satisfaction out of that,
There is
versus
there is something about
you
the
know
speed at which and how much acceptance you need from other people. Like if you write a script, what the percentage of
right.
that getting made into a movie, and then the time and how many projects get canceled, and how many things get completed and finished and then never seen. And if there's just the business is too big and it requires too many people. I mean, it took me 7 years to make a movie, and then I just decided after that, like I will be living at home for the rest of my life if I decide to make another movie. And
Yeah,
I was not
yeah.
committed to that in any way.
Same here. So you and I have some similarities there. That it's the timeline of a project, right? And you got to
Mhm.
figure out, okay, I've got this kind of runway of life expectancy, right? How do I want to spend my time creatively, or just producing content, right? That might
Sure.
sell and people can enjoy or whatever. And so yeah, it's the same situation. And I get more creative fulfillment out of what I'm doing now, even with shop links. We're doing software development, and we're creating features and fixing bugs, and hopefully creating software that in an app that helps people shop more efficiently, have more fun with e-commerce, and even save money. So it's yeah, it's really about producing content in a more timely manner. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, can you imagine being, we're talking about Stanley Kubrick. Can you imagine being Stanley Kubrick and making 10 films in your life, 12, whatever it is? Like, I mean, there's a few
Yeah.
documentaries in there, early on, but like producing, a film every few years, then once every 5 years, then not once every 10 years. And then it's like, well, making one film a decade. Like, I don't know. What is he doing the rest of the time? It's like, and then if you look at, I got that Napoleon book from Taschen, and
Hmm.
that's all of his plans and all of his notes and everything about the design of this book, about design of this movie, that never even like, and they show photos of like the cabinets of all the stuff that they drew from to make this book, from like the writing and the photographs and you know um, the set design and all that stuff, and it's like movie never happened. That,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just cry
And
myself to
many,
sleep every night. Like that just.
I know, I know. And there was also that what Superman movie, right? With Nicolas Cage, right? That was you see like a documentary like that, and they
The
work so many years, and they develop all these costumes, and then but the film never gets made.
Right.
So I think working smart and not only working hard, like working smarter and
Mhm.
not just working harder. I think that's one of my mottos. I like to work smart, man. You know.
And working smarter is not making movies.
Hey, listen, when Dub, you probably had this too, going to film school, then I worked on the X-Files, and, you're in that environment. And so when I used to watch TV shows and films, I would start critiquing it. I'm like, well, what? Oh, okay. How are they, what kind of coverage are they get? I would just critique like how they're filming it,
Sure.
like how the pacing of the film, everything. But over a couple of years, I started just becoming a fan again. And I don't even critique. I mean,
Right.
I'll notice things and I'll appreciate things, but now I can really appreciate it. But you have to remove yourself from it for a little while to get
Mhm.
to that level, I think,
But then if I watch, maybe 10 years ago, I started a spreadsheet. Every time I watch the movie, I just put the name on it, and I have last 10 or 12 years,
Mhm.
because they all sort of blend together, and I don't remember like which X-Men movie I saw because they're all sort of the same. And
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
I gotta look. Did I see that movie? Oh, okay. Don't waste the time. Because too many times I
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
watching the movie 10 minutes in, I'm like, I think I saw this. And you just turn it off, right? It's like it was so unmemorable. And then it was a interview with Julia Roberts, and people, obviously she was getting older, and obviously older female actors are not, don't get the roles that they do when they're younger, unfortunately. But her
Yeah.
response to the writer, to the interviewer, was, tell me, they were like, how come you haven't been working? Well, the obvious is, and obviously dumbass, like, it's a horrible environment for older women. um, but her answer was, how many movies did you see last year that you thought I should have been in? And
Wow.
the writer's like, it was like, well, maybe one, right? And then, so I think of all the stuff that I watch in a year, and I think, how many how many things do I see that I am like completely like dumbfounded and jealous that like I didn't make, right? And that happens to me like once or twice a year. Like it's just so rare.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is like,
Rare.
like, so
Yeah,
yeah.
Dub, as far as the Marvel films, I mean, I finally got through all of them, but I forgot which one I had seen too. And I had to go to YouTube and look up the recap videos and go, oh yeah, I've seen that. And I'll watch the
Right.
recap. Okay, then finish the series. But yeah, and just to give you a sense too, I actually, I think sometimes it's good to reflect, even as an artist or entrepreneur or whatever you're doing, it's kind of good to, especially when 2020 came around, I actually did some reflection and I looked back, okay, what did I accomplish in the last 10 years, right? And
Mhm.
I wrote a list of what, because I like to catalog too, like you do.
Yeah.
So I wrote a list of things I counted, I think around 17 toys that
Mhm.
we produced with Timebandits, whether it's a one-off or custom or a series or a run. Um, and I can tell you right now, there's no way I would have made 17 movies, 17 films
Sure.
in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? So
It's really unfortunate, and unfortunately, the filmmakers that are out there that are successful are not necessarily successful because the films that they make are good. They are successful because they have the type of personalities that can convince people who greenlight movies and who invest in movies confidence. And that's not
yeah.
me. I don't walk into a room and inspire confidence. I'm just sort of meandering, like, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, could be shitty. We'll just have to give it a shot, And it's like, that is like the opposite energy. Like they want, like, dude, it's gonna be rad, and like, it's like, no, you can say that all day. Like I'm a, like, you know, under promise, over deliver kind of guy. And that is not the that is not the disposition for Hollywood at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. So it seems like you and I made similar choices, right? Where because you obviously get some creative fulfillment out of curating, Dove. I mean, you're an avid
Sure.
collector. There's a lot of create. I mean, you are surrounded by creativity. So, um, I was always impressed too at the shows you curated at DesignerCon when it had its own section and you walk in and you get to see all the pieces. It's you definitely have a knack for that. So and you've done a lot more shows and a lot more activity doing what you do than probably the amount of films you would have made, right?
Sure, but producing is producing, right? So if we're producing
Yeah,
an event, we're doing a convention, curating an art show is like it's having a party at the house and making sure everything is done right. Publishing a book, any of these projects, it's all the same producing skill. It's all and the same kind of directing skill. It's just getting all the pieces, it's logistics, making sure all the pieces are coming together, organizing the budget, making sure all the parts are arriving on time in the certain order that you need them. And then it's the same thing again, it's like promoting. The difference is it's an edition of 20 or 30. You can put that online and hopefully sell out at the first show, if not the next couple, um, as opposed to having to go on the road for a year to promote a movie. That sounds horrible. That's like, can you
yeah,
imagine?
such a
Like,
much longer period of time.
and then there's the cost. I mean, that was it for me, is that, I realized that and I think about making another documentary in my lifetime. Um, but it would be a time where I could completely stop making money, right? And spend
Yep,
5 years of my life spending money, right?
right.
Because it'll
Yep,
never recoup, right? And the best way to get fans these days is to put it on YouTube and give it away for free.
self-distribute.
That's how to get people to see it, because by that time people are not going to pay you for it, right? Unless you're the
Right.
small percentage of people that can get it onto a Netflix or whatever platform is hot. But the budgets for that stuff are just coming way down. It's like the more platforms there are, cheaper. Jenke was talking about it, how when he was editing for these shows, like the budgets are coming down. There's more content being made, and they're asking you to do the same amount of work in less time for less money. So
Yeah, my wife is a casting director in reality TV and casting producer, and she says the same thing. She's been casting for 20 years, and she basically says similar things about the industry because she was an actress before. But yeah, it's the business model has changed and it's
sure,
continuing to change and evolving rapidly. And
right.
it's yeah,
And as they
a lot of competition.
as they keep trying to like cut the fat to make it streamlined, and I don't know if profits are increasing. um and I don't know for who, maybe for like Netflix they are, but I seem to think that um the days of when a producer would make TV, they would hope to get to 100 episodes, and then there would be reruns, and they would like that they could retire on that, like make residuals. And um, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that's a thing anymore. I don't know if. Um, yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah,
I remember
just
we had our 200th episode celebration for the X Files, and it was a big deal. And now, it's for shows to have. I mean, it's more on the rare side, right? Because they're
mhm,
so expensive to make that they last that many seasons.
sure, and they don't need them to last. I think the model
Right.
has changed. I don't think Netflix wants something that goes 5 seasons. Oh, yeah. Jenke just said three and out. They want,
Three and
um,
out. Is that what the
yeah,
deal is now? Yeah.
because what's the
Yeah.
attracting viewers to Netflix? What's the difference if there's 3 seasons to watch or 4 seasons to watch? It's not like a couple extra weeks of your watching time. It just doesn't make, it's like, as long as there's a thing to get you there, to keep paying every month, to keep keep you locked in. That's all I care about.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
on that depressing note,
Hey, hey, Doug. Yeah, go
before
ahead.
we go, just tell us what you got going on in the future.
Hey, for DesignerCon, hopefully this November, and we're going to be in person. So please come see us at our Time Bandits and Todd Action booth. What we have planned to release for this year at DesignerCon are Nikola Tesla and Animal Farm by George Orwell, and then George Carlin, which is going to have a really interesting quote on the back of that card back. So those are 3 figures that we plan on releasing. And then I'm also working on a collab with an artist from Mexico named Toy Chingon. We're going to be doing like more like a psychedelic colorway with Frankie the Time Bandit in 3 3/4 inch.
Nice.
So and then
what's the
George
George Carlin quote?
It's pretty long. I'll have to. And if
it's going to get us flagged. It's not like the rich do none of the work and make all the money, and then the middle class, what is it? And then the poor is there.
The main quote, Doug, is "It's a big club and you ain't in it." That's what's on the front. That's on the front. Now, there's a whole stand-up bit that he does.
Yeah.
It's his most famous stand-up bit, and that phrase, that sentence, "It's a big club and you ain't it," it's in the bigger, it's in that bit. Right. And that entire bit, it's actually not even quote, it's an entire bit. It's on the back of the card back. I thought, hey, listen, we got to put the whole quote on the back.
That's amazing. But I think my favorite George Carlin quote is like, the rich do none of the work and make all the money. The middle class do all of the work, make none of the money, and the poor are there to scare the shit out of the middle class. That's my favorite quote.
Yeah,
indeed. All right, dude.
Yeah, and you never know what play sets we're gonna have at this DKECON coming up too. So we've had
certainly looking forward to it.
We've had all the other ones we mentioned. So yeah, it should be fun. Hey, and you can follow me on Instagram at Timebandits, and it's 2 underscores. So Timebandits 2 underscores. And if you want to see my collection, some of my collection, follow me on my personal Instagram, and that's at J Stevens Design, and Stevens is spelled STEPHENS Design. Awesome. And follow me there. My websites are timebanditswatches.com, and for my personal art website, you can check out my portfolio of all the projects I work on. It's jonathanstevensart.com. And then lastly, Dove, so my other company, ShopLinks, we're opening our ShopLinks app up to increase, we had a BTC marketplace, but we're opening that up to be a crypto marketplace to include NFTs and other collectibles. So if there are any artists out there who have NFTs they're working on, or even some of your figures that you want featured in our platform where people can buy with crypto, please reach out to me, send me a DM, and we'd be happy to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thanks, Dev.
Take care, dude. Have a good one.
Bye.
See, the smartest of like all the artists we've ever interviewed spends the last 2 minutes like promoting himself, telling everyone where you could follow him. Everyone else is like, okay, I'll see you later. Bye.